46 meteorologist Fred Campagna. I want to give you an update on what is happening weather-wise now and what we're looking at for this afternoon, because there have been some slight changes from the Storm Prediction Center. Now, we are getting the rain coming through. It is moderate to heavy at times throughout North Georgia, particularly the 85 corridor is where we have this line coming through. You can already see that the back edge of the line is getting through Rome and through far northwest Georgia. Some of the heaviest rain right now is in the southeastern part of the metro area, so in the southern DeKalb County right now, picking up some pretty good downpours, and those will continue off to the east out into Rockdale County, and then eventually we're seeing some up in Gwinnett County too. Also a little farther down to the south and west, have some, again, pretty decent downpours coming down. Nothing super torrential that's lasting for very long to lead to any street flooding. At least at this time, we haven't had any reports of that. And there aren't a ton of lightning strikes. There have been some, but this system, this part of the system is weakening a little bit as it moves off to the east. Now, as you look to our west, a couple of things to note. Severe weather showing up in southern Alabama, South Alabama. That's going to continue moving off to the east. Tornado watch down in that area, and South Georgia is under the risk of some severe weather a little bit later on this morning. Also, farther off to our west, you see that there back near Jackson, Mississippi. That's the second line that we're going to be watching for later on this afternoon. Now, the Storm Prediction Center has made some changes here, and they're borderline wholesale changes really in terms of our forecast for this afternoon as far as the severe risk goes. You may remember earlier we had a level 3 risk from the I-20 corridor around I-20 all the way to the south, and then a level 2 risk to the north. Now we have a level 2 risk, which extends from north of the I-20 corridor around Athens all the way up through Cherokee County and all of West Georgia, and includes the Atlanta metro area. So Atlanta was split between a 2 and a 3 before. Now it is a level 2 risk. Our tornado risk has come down considerably from where it was. In Atlanta, it was about a 10% risk. Now it's down to 2%, but it's increased, should note this, in the northwestern part of the state to a 5% risk of tornadoes within 25 miles of a point. And the damaging wind risk looks similar to what our tornado risk is, which is we're basically talking about all the Atlanta metro area, points to the west and points to the south, south of Athens. As far as large hail risk goes, that's mainly in West Georgia. And this is for anything that fires up later on this afternoon. Our flash flooding risk is pretty low for today, only 5 to 10% chance. So this first line moves out in the next, say, 60 to 90 minutes. By 11 this morning, it's probably drifting away from us. And then we'll watch for storms to refire this afternoon. But the likelihood of those becoming supercell storms and us seeing widespread wind damage and widespread isolated strong tornadoes developing in these storms, that has gone down some. It's not at all clear just yet, but it is a situation where it may not be as significant later on this afternoon and this evening as we once thought. But still, I think it bears watching, because if this line moves through early enough this morning, the atmosphere has a chance to recover, and we could still see some real strong to severe storms developing this afternoon. Rodney Harris is here with me, and Rodney, we've been adjusting here on the fly this morning. You're talking about this sort of the energy breakdown for this storm and some city-by-city looks at severe threats.
Yeah, Fred, so as you mentioned, we have been showing you this storm energy. This is one of the many versions of Futurecast we can show you. And quite frankly, earlier this morning, this actually matches, I think, the severe outlook that we're seeing now. The updated severe outlook, it matches the storm energy that we've been showing all morning long. So as you look at this map here, this is from earlier this morning. One of the reasons why we're seeing the rain without the severe thunderstorms right now is because all of that storm energy is south and west of us. So as I put this into motion, notice even at 10 o'clock this morning, that stuff's still south and west of us. So the storm energy is the difference between severe storms and just rain and a little lightning. As we go toward the afternoon hours, we do get the storm energy moving in. So we said all morning long your threat for severe thunderstorms would increase in the afternoon, but notice how that green is a level 1. The yellow is a level 2, so it's on the lower end of the storm energy. And so the updated severe weather outlook, I think, matches this better by removing that, level 3 enhanced risk. But as Fred mentioned, still definitely a risk of severe storms, and then continuing through the afternoon and evening, you can see that yellow generally south. One thing that's not indicated here, storm energy is essentially heat and humidity. There's another element that we look at as well that's not shown here, and it's wind energy. And there's a ton of that that's coming from the west as the actual storm system moves in, which is why that risk, and you saw that in Fred's outlook, is also kind of including West Georgia, because even though we're not going to have as much heat and humidity as you go into Northwest Georgia, they will get a ton of wind energy in the upper levels of the atmosphere moving in. And a lot of times here in North Georgia, even without a ton of heat, if the wind energy is strong enough, you can still get some of that to come down to the surface. So that's why that severe weather outlook looks the way that it does. Speaking of the outlook that Fred just showed you, we just also updated the cities in the outlook. So we'll take you to that. And this is a slight risk now. So earlier this morning, the highest risk was a level 3. Notice the highest risk now is a level 2. A slight risk. That means scattered severe thunderstorms are possible. So we've updated our city list here. If you are in this level 2 or slight risk, right now it includes the city of Atlanta, that includes Decatur, that includes Marietta, Lawrenceville, Jonesboro, Alpharetta, Roswell, Douglasville, Kennesaw, Snellville, basically, Fred, everybody in Metro Atlanta. I just like to put the cities on there because I know
People
you like to hear
their city names.
Exactly, you want to hear your city name. So you are all under that level 2 or slight risk today. For those of you particularly in Atlanta southward, the risk is just a little bit lower, but still, you know, the potential for severe thunderstorms.
Yeah, and one of the things that's really important, Rodney, is we want to caution against anyone looking at this and saying, oh, the risk is lower. We're definitely not going to see a severe thunderstorm. A level 2 risk is what we typically see around here during the storm season. Level 3 risk we don't see as often, but to get into a level 2 risk, you can have some very strong to severe storms. You can have isolated tornadoes. The tornado risk is still not 0. Yes, it's down some from what it was, but it is 5% for a good chunk of North Georgia. So just to reiterate, we're no longer in a level 3 risk in any part of North Georgia as far as severe storms go, and the threat for that has always been later on this afternoon. And Rodney was just showing you that storm energy, and of course now it lines up. That is computer model information. Take the latest that we can gather from everything that's going on in the atmosphere, run these computer models just about 24/7, and the risk is actually a little bit higher up into the northwestern part of the state than it was based on what we're finding out there this morning. Another indication here too that it's relatively cool out there. So we have this wedge of cool air which tends to move in out of the northeast, and that prevents us from seeing real severe weather. So this indicates, this risk level that you're seeing right here, that wedge of cool air may hang on a little bit longer than anticipating, and not allow for the atmosphere to get very unstable during this afternoon as that cold front approaches. But I don't know about you, Rodney, but I still think this is something we need to watch pretty closely here as the day goes on.
Yeah, absolutely. You made a great point. Even though the risk is technically lowered, as it should have been based on the data, the actual risk of severe thunderstorms still exists. So you and I are here right now, and Jen and Ella and Molly will be in here. So don't, like you say, don't let your guard down. Have that CBS 46 app ready to go, because we do still, Fred, think that we will see at least some severe thunderstorm warnings.
Yeah, and look at it here, and you'll notice that this is the rain we have this morning, running into the cool air, losing a lot of the lightning, pushing through. But all of this back in here west of Birmingham, that is what we call the warm sector, and you can already start to see there are some storms that are firing up back in Mississippi. So we'll be watching that line closely as the day goes on, and we'll continue to keep you updated both on air and online. And don't forget, download the CBS 46 streaming app. Have a great morning.